Okay, the cash flow statement which we have discussed the previous classes, previous things. So today we will be discussing about the fourth concept. Okay, I mean the fourth problem. So the problem says like this: it is a balance sheet of VXL Limited as at 31st of 2 years are given below. There is an assets and liability. Look at this very carefully. There is 2016 and 2015 is given here. Okay, and the cash balances, obviously the cash balances will result at the last in the cash flow statement. Okay, and relating to the current assets, make sure that the current assets is increased or decreased. Whenever there is a reduction in the current assets, it is indicating there is a, if there is a current assets is going to decrease, it is going to indicate as the inflow of cash. If it is there is increase of current assets, it is a outflow of cash. Okay, and particular to the land, plant and machinery account, you need to prepare a separate account for a fixed assets in order to find out whether it is a purchase or if it is any depreciation or if it is any sales out of it. So you need to prepare a separate fixed assets account even though the adjustment is not given. Fine. Then liabilities and the capital trade creditors. Increase or decrease of the current liability will be taken into consideration in the case of operating activity. Okay. Then debentures. If it is increase in the debenture, it will be taken into consideration. If it is redemption of debenture, is also taken into consideration. Okay. Then provision for depreciation on plant. This is very much important. Okay, very much important because okay, very much important concept. Why? Because in the case of okay, very much important, provision for depreciation on plant is given here in the balance sheet. Okay, so if at all it is given in the balance sheet, make sure there is any raise or if there is any reduction in the value of a depreciation of the plant, whichever is given. Here, look at this. 2015, 60,000. 2016, there is 80,000. So you can also prepare a separate account for provision for depreciation to find out what is the actual depreciation for a current year. That is one way. Or else instead of preparing a provision for depreciation on plant, you can also just take into consideration the 60,000 and the 80,000 information. So what is the difference here? It is just 20,000. So that 20,000 is treated as the depreciation for the current year. Clear? Then equity share capital is increased to 2 lakh and 2 lakh 40,000. 40,000 is the increase in the share capital. Retained earnings. So retained earnings is contradictory nothing but the profit and loss account. Okay. So opening and the closing balance, however, you used to take in the previous problem, here also retained earnings is taken as the same way. Clear? Then look at this only one adjustment very carefully. Cash dividend of 25,000 has been paid during the year. Obviously, whenever there is a dividend paid, okay, very important. Dividend paid, okay. There is a dividend paid of rupees 25,000 which is paid during the year. It has to be treated twice. One will be taken in the operating activity. Other, this is also taken into consideration in the financing activity as a reduction value because it is a payment which is indicating the outflow of cash. Here, then. So I told you, you need to prepare a separate plant account and the land and building account. So prepare a separate plant account. So to balance brought down. So what is the value of brought down which is given here? It is 2 lakhs. You have taken. Okay. There is also balance which is carried down. So what is the value of carried down? It is 2 lakh 50,000. Okay. So 2 lakh 50,000 is the value you got. So make a total of this. So it is again 2 lakh 50,000 total. Here also it is 2 lakh 50,000. Okay. So you got 2 lakh 50,000. So 50,000 will be the balancing figure. So where do you got the balancing figure? In the debit side. So if it is a debit side, it is indicating the purchase. So make it as 2. Don't write directly the purchase or the sale. So make it as to bank or cash account. So which is indicating purchases. So which is a balancing figure value. Which is a balancing figure value. So what is the balancing figure here? It is 50,000. Clear? So 50,000 is the balancing figure. Next, prepare a. So where do you take the purchases? Purchasing and the sale activity is taken in the investment activity. Clear? So land and building. So separately prepare a to balance brought down. So what is the value of land and building? So land and building value is given as 1 lakh. So again, there is also by balance carried down. So what is the value of carried down? It is 80,000. Okay. So what will be the total? It is 1 lakh. Okay. It is 1 lakh. So remaining is called as, you got the difference in the credit side. So you got it as 20,000 is the difference. It is taken as sales by bank or cash account, which is indicating the sales. It is the balancing figure. Okay. Got this plant and land and building account. Then go ahead with preparing the cash flow statement for the year. So cash flow statement for the year, make it as particulars is rupees. Clear? So what is the first? You have to take obviously the net profit into consideration. So retained earnings. So retained earnings here for the year it is 1 lakh 60,000 minus 1 lakh 25,000. So what will be the value? Write it in the outer column. The value is 35,000. Okay. Now take all the information. So which are the information that you need to consider? Cash flow from operating activity. Okay. Take the cash flow from operating activity. So very important this one for calculating the activity. So you need to take the cash flow from operating activity, investing activity and the financing activity. So which are the cash flow from financing activity? So add, if at all you have any non-cash incomes, non-cash expenses. Okay. So incomes will be reduced. Don't get confused here. So in order to make the differences, in the case of adjusted profit and loss account, whatever the debit balances will be taken here as a non-cash expenses. Fine. And take all the informations into consideration. So whatever the information we need to consider here. Okay. What are the non-cash expenses? Take the provision for depreciation. So I told you provision for depreciation, if it is given in the balance sheet, directly take below the non-cash expenses. If at all it is not given, it is given in the adjustment. It has to be taken two ways. One, you need to prepare a separate provision for depreciation account and find out the depreciation. And also that provision for depreciation will be adjusted in the separate account. So which is a separate account you will be preparing? You will be preparing a plant account. So opening value of the provision for depreciation will be added back to the opening value of the plant account. And the closing value will also be added back to the plant account. Okay. So we will also solve that kind of problem further. Fine. Here it is 80,000 minus 60,000. So what is the value you got? It is 20,000. Fine. It is a provision for depreciation. And also take, there is a dividend paid. So what is the value cash dividend paid is 25,000. So these two are the non-cash expenses which is given in the question. Now, so add back these two. Okay, 20,000 and 25,000 will give you 45,000. So now add 35,000 and 45,000. It is, add that to information, you will get 80,000. Okay, this is the amount which you got before adjusting any item relating to the value. Now reduce non-cash incomes. So non-cash incomes, here you will take into consideration the profit irrespective of the dividend received or any interest received. So that information will be considered. This question is not giving any information to that. So just keep it as nil. Okay. And now, so whatever the value that is going to remain here, you got just 80,000 as there is no value. So what is this called as? This 80,000 is called as the net profit before changes in working capital. Okay. So what is indicating the working capital? Increase or decrease of the current assets or current liability is going to indicate the now working capital. Okay. Now add decrease in current assets and increase in current liability. Okay. So which will be adding decrease in the current assets and increase in the current liability. So here you got in the question, you might have observed when I was explaining inventory. So inventory is decreased. So what is the value of decrease? It is 20,000. And there is also creditors which is increased. So what is the value of increase? 10,000. So 20 plus 10 will be 30,000. So add back 80 and 10 will give you 1,10,000. Clear? So now take the reduction information, that is increase in current assets and decrease in current liability. Okay. So here, so decrease in current assets and increase in current liability is going to indicate the inflow of cash. Increase in current assets and decrease in the current liability is going to impact the outflow of cash. Here, so now increase in the current assets. So what is the value of increase in the current assets? Okay, Here there is only one information, one, that is debtors. So debtors is increased. So what is the value? 25,000. So now take in the outer column the same value, 25,000. Reduce the value, you will get 85,000. So what is this 85,000 is called? This is the cash flow from operating activity. Okay. So make sure these all informations are taken into consideration while you calculate the cash flow from operating activity. First take the non-cash expenses, non-cash incomes, then certain changes with relating to the current assets and the current liability. Fine. Now you will take the second information, that is cash flow from investing activity. So which are the cash flow that will be taken under the investing activity? Okay. So investing activity here. So investing activity here you will take. So make sure that you are taking the purchases and the sales information. There is in the question, there is a purchase of plant which we have already calculated in the respective plant account. So what is the value of plant account purchases that you got? It is 50,000. So make it as purchase of plant as 50,000. Whenever by in the form any asset is purchased, there will be a outflow of cash. So any purchases, any kind of purchases indicating the outflow of cash, it has to be reduced. So write it in the bracket. So it is 50,000. Next, there is a sale of land and building. Okay. So this also you got while calculating the value. So whatever the value that is going to remain will be indicating here. That is 30,000 will be indicating here. Here. So 85,000 minus 30,000 gives you 55,000. So what is this called as? This is the cash flow from investing activity. Clear? Now, so the last one that you need to proceed is cash flow from financing activity. Okay. So cash flow from financing activity. So that is so okay, here you will take the cash flow from financing activity. So which are the financing activity? Equity share capital, that is issue of equity share capital. What is the value of equity share capital? It is 40,000. Okay. So 40,000 will be taken into consideration here. And there is also debentures. So debentures is reduced. So you can write it as redemption in debentures. So what is the value in debenture redemption is 60,000. That will be taken into consideration. Fine. There is also cash dividend which is given in the adjustment. Adjustment item should be treated twice. So cash dividend paid is 25,000. So whenever there is a payment, it is the outflow of cash here. So take all these into consideration. 40,000 minus 60,000 minus 25,000 will give you 45,000 here. And now to the value. So 55 minus 45 will give you 10,000. So this 10,000 is called cash flow from financing activity. Clear? So now add the opening balance of cash. So what is the opening value which is given in the question? It is 50,000. It is added back to the 10,000. So this is very much important. Cash flow from financing activity. Okay. Here you got 10,000 as the value. So whatever the value that will be added back, it is indicating this is the closing balance of cash. So very much important. Okay. So financing activity you got. So this is the investing activity, and this is also an operating activity. Okay. So this is with regarding to the fourth question which is being sent. Okay.